Okay. All right. We are live here. I am Scott Simpson, Nimble W Numbers on Twitter. I'm joined today by Best Ball Bruni himself, the one, the only. Welcome to Wide Receiver 2 Theory, episode number 2 of the 2024 season, where we break down what wide receiver twos on their team have a chance to outperform their ADP, give you some value, help you marginally maybe win your league. We don't want to say you're going to win your league for all the stuff that people say you're going to win your league if you do this. No, you have a better chance though. With that being said, let me introduce one of my favorite people in the industry, local guy here in the DMV, part of the Crab Cake League, which is my claim to fame here, and so excited for him to join us. Justin, welcome, good sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate you having me. Really excited to break into some wide receiver 2 theory. Love the way that you described it there, kind of like almost like a college course, going into like theory 101.
Yes, well, I'm trying to get all of the professors that I respect in the industry who've kind of laid the foundation. We talked kind of off camera before the show started. You've been doing best ball drafts, thousands of them, millions of them, I don't know, hundreds, zillions of them, all summer long. You know the markets, particularly with wide receivers. And so what we're going to do today with the people is we're going to kind of look for those values and try to see where there are edges and areas that the people have kind of made their decisions already, and we can pivot off of them or we can learn from them, whatever one you think is going to be best for us. So before we do that, though, I want to kind of get into a little bit about yourself, let people know kind of your background. I know that you have a heavy sports gambling background that maybe is not evident in all of their knowledge of you. So break down kind of who's Justin Bruni, what's your focus, and what's your thing?
Yeah, I started playing fantasy football in 2004. I was a freshman in high school. Me and a bunch of my friends were just kind of dicking around in shop class when we were supposed to be working on AutoCAD. We created yahoo.com email accounts, and we discovered fantasy football. Just a way that we could kind of kick it at school. We had like hour-and-a-half class periods, so we were just constantly killing time all the time. And fantasy football became a big part of our morning ritual. We get into class, we talk about the previous week, stuff like that, and then from there to just evolved in its natural degeneracy to sports gambling, fantasy football hysteria, maxing out best ball mania last year, 25% hit rate. Shout out, yeah, nice, that's right, nice. Selfish tote. Going right back again this year. We're already 100 drafts plus right now. I am at 101 best ball mania drafts as we're quickly approaching August here. So feeling good about that. I can kind of take my time with my last 50 down the stretch of August. I do content for fanspeak.com and the Fantasy Six Pack Network. So I do best ball shows and articles for both of those brands.
I love it. And we met previously when we were working together and we were doing fantasy football DFS content. So we've been all over the map, you and I both, experts in the field. So here's what I want to kind of do. I'm going to kind of throw some ideas about these teammates that are in the vicinity of each other or in a round or two or a couple rounds. You get a discount here, you get a little bit of an edge here. And so I'm going to just kind of give your thoughts on a couple of these matchups, right? So let's start with a matchup that really does matter. Brandon Ayuk looks like he's going to be staying in San Francisco against his wishes. The 49ers need him to win a Super Bowl. That's the word on the street. We kind of know that. He is a top 15, top 20 wide receiver in the NFL, and he wants that money. With that being said, him and Debo right now are just tit for tat. You can get either one of them in that wide receiver, 14, 15 range. You've been on the best ball, and then also, what you've kind of picked up from yourself. Who are you edging or leaning towards more exposure-wise? Kind of how are you viewing this teammate matchup?
Pretty evenly. I mean, when you look at what they did last year, they finished, I think, in half-point PPR. They were both between, I want to say, 13 and 15 or 12 and 15. So they were like neck and neck. I'll check my exposures here really quickly just to see how much I've valued one over the other. In best ball, these are very easy clicks when you take Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first round because you have that week 17 correlation in 2024 this year with the 49ers and the Lions playing in week 17. So it's typically a very easy click one way or the other. If you drafted Amon-Ra in round one, you're probably going to go ahead and draft Ayuk or Samuel in round two. So I have 7% of Ayuk. For reference, my most exposed receiver is at 25%. I know that we will be referencing him later in the show. And Debo at 8%. So like neck and neck, both 7 and 8%. You really can go either direction here. I think because you have them so close in your traditional redraft leagues, one of them is likely to fall 3 to 5 picks. And you just go ahead and take that guy. You don't want to rush and bring Samuel into like round 1 or bring either of them really into like the first half of round 2. I think that one of them falls past, what is that, pick 18, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and it for, let me see right now. They're wide receiver 15, 16. So at the end of the middle of the third. So like 50, 305, 306 is where they're coming off. So
and last year, it was 12 and 14. Debo finished at wide receiver 12 and Ayuk at 14. That's in half-point PPR. So like, you pick your poison here. I like Ayuk a little bit more just based on the physical traits and his development. It seems like he's continuously taking a step forward, where we're kind of just like buckling in for Debo Samuel. Like, is he going to be able to do it? Can he still work as a running back as well? Can he still get like unique touches and score off of big, like creative chunk plays? I feel like that's a little bit more of a debate and people were feeling better about him actually when they thought, hey, Ayuk's going to leave. They must feel really comfortable with Samuel. With him staying, I think going forward, I would give the edge to picking Ayuk over Samuel, preferably.
Yeah, I wrote about him last year in wide receiver 2 theory. He was one of my favorite plays because the gap in ADP was just so huge. I mean, he was an outstanding value. I drafted him.
Well, you nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get. You find that I also drafted a couple other people too, but he was one of the guys. If you look at their ADOT, right, this is a different, they play different positions, honestly. Brandon Ayuk, 14.1, Debo Samuel, 7. So that's the average depth of target, right? And so that just, you can see that in that, that twice as much, you're getting the downfield looks for Debo. You're getting bigger, or for Ayuk, excuse me, you're getting bigger plays. And Debo, you're getting more touches. That's what you're getting. You are, but you're also getting the injury factor and the risks that come with that, particularly being used in that physical bruising running back style. If you watch the receiver show on Netflix, he's hurt several times throughout the season because of that. And so I think both of them are good plays. I'm not saying don't draft Debo, but I'm leaning Ayuk as well. So
they're playing in a prolific offense and one of the top scoring teams in the NFL, projectably. You have that steady, safe floor that CMC is going to bring you on every single drive. So there's a lot to be desired there, and really that's why they're so high. And I know that like the team value is baked into a few more players we're going to talk about as well.
Yeah. Well, if you really are concerned about Debo, you could always kind of watch Ricky Pearsall on the wire and see what happens if Debo goes down and how they adjust if that's something that you are super concerned about with injury. But okay, let's jump to another team here that has a new wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, given like bazoodles of money. You talked about him a little bit earlier, and now he's there with DeAndre Hopkins, who's still DeAndre Hopkins. He's a little long in the tooth, but so is Calvin Ridley. So right now on ADP, wide receiver 33 for Calvin Ridley, Hopkins 39. This is ADP kind of a cumulative data, right? So it's kind of from all the different sites they pull. How are you seeing this matchup? Are you $74 million is a lot of money. Is that influencing you kind of what they're trying to do? Is that just crazy, stupid money? What's going on?
No, I mean, I love that he got his degens assemble, just taking one for the team, getting suspended for gambling. Absolutely love that. I mean, not that, we missed out on him, he's a great player, but I think he's going to be a perfect fit for Will Levis in this system. Callahan coming over from the Bengals to head coach and play call for this offense, I think is a huge factor. Gearing up with running backs like Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears doesn't give me a ton of faith that this team's going to push the rock on the ball a ton. I think they are going to throw the ball a lot, and this is big benefit for Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Going between the two, I love them both, first off, but Calvin Ridley, I have 23% shares of him in Best Ball Mania. So that's my second most exposed receiver, probably somewhere in my, 5 to 6 range for like most exposed player, period. And then I have a very healthy percentage of DeAndre Hopkins at 15%, which I would say is arguably still pretty good. They're at great value right now. And I've been talking all summer long since May about how they are going to cost more and more and more as we get closer to the NFL kickoff. I will take absolutely either of them. I think when you're getting Hopkins, when you're getting him, you want him built into stronger wide receiver stables. You don't want him to be like your second best receiver or your second receiver drafted. but you can bake him into a good roster as your fourth or fifth receiver, maybe with a couple of good running backs, and you have
Nice
a really
flex.
good, yeah, exactly, a very good flex candidate, someone that you can build into the back end value of your roster.
Yeah, I like that. Right now, Ridley is around the end of the sixth round, beginning of the seventh, and then Hopkins is beginning of the eighth. So you have 1 round difference between them. If you can get either one of them on that discounted price, around players like Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, even Keenan Allen, who we'll get to in a little bit. But no, okay, I like that. All right, let's talk about another matchup here. This is lower down in the ranks here. Teammates. Look at the wide receiver 2 for the Carolina Panthers, right? Bryce Young, second year. This is going to be a better season. We know it's going to be a better season. They drafted, I forget who they drafted. Was it
Leggett?
Yeah, Leggett. So he's there. He's the wide receiver 67 right now. Adam Thielen, wide receiver 65. We saw what Thielen did last year. He was one of the most undervalued wide receivers. He did win people leagues, right? He came out of nowhere. What do you think about this matchup? How are they with Deontay Johnson, your boy there, I know, is definitely the wide receiver 1. I'm not even worried about that. But how are they going to kind of shake out at the end?
So first and foremost, I am a big advocate of Carolina Panthers this year, including even Adam Thielen. Thielen finished as wide receiver 25 in half-point PPR last year. That value is held up mostly by front half stats that he put up from weeks 1 through 8, weeks 1 through 9. He did not finish the season well, but he was able to give you a lot of really good weeks to push you into a better position to either make the playoffs, stay in the playoff run, keep you at the top of your league, whatever it was. So he's someone that I'm still drafting. Wide receiver 65, even if he fell 20 spots in overall production, you're still getting him another 20 spots after that in total wide receiver rankings. And I will tell you, I don't care when you draft, whether it's now, 3 or 4 months ago, a month from now, right before NFL kickoff, Adam Thielen will fall in your draft. Yes, so will Xavier Leggett. Both of those guys are big fallers, and you don't have to rush to get them. And again, maybe it's a deeper flex play, but you're going to be burying him at the bottom of your roster. I want Thielen more than Leggett. Leggett is, to me, a last round pick. Throw your dart. That's fine. Thielen will have a very good baseline role in this offense that, Canales has talked about wanting to get the ball out quickly, wanted to improve the efficiency of Bryce Young. He'll take a step forward. A lot of good things mixing up for either of those guys. Leggett can be a big play guy, but he'll need an injury. And hey, how hard is that? You got Adam Thielen right there. Who knows?
Right. No, I do like that. And I like your Deontay Johnson call, by the way, too, because I know you've been on him since many days, many.
It's just always an easy smash. His ADP year after year is disrespected, discounted. It's tough. Not every good wide receiver can be quarterback proof. He's done the best with what he's had since Big Ben, but he hasn't been able to have the same success as like a Terry McLaurin, who just constantly puts up good numbers, or like last year, Mike Evans, and what he did with Baker Mayfield. It was great to see. A lot of people are expecting it again, but going into last season, that was not a bet that folks were making. Was this offense is going to be big because of Baker. So he's had a little bit of a rough go of it.
Yeah, no, that is true. I'm glad my kids are jumping down the stairs too after I told them I was podcasting. So
smart.
Yeah, cheerio. Okay, last teammate battle here, and we're talking New England, right? And it is an unsettling situation, right? I know it's not great, but here's the thing: you can get any of their wide receivers for free at the end of your draft, anytime, right? Anytime. And so Demario Douglas, wide receiver 69, Jalen Polk, wide receiver 72, both have upside, right? Polk more consistent. Demario Douglas more consistent, Polk probably more flashes, touchdowns, things like that. How are you viewing these two? If you're down there in the 14th, 15th round and you've got a spot and there's two New England wide receivers still on the board, who are you picking and why?
I will tell you that in redraft, no.
Never.
So Jalen Polk and who was it? Demario Douglas.
Yes.
Here's another 5 reasons not to take them. Juju Smith-Schuster, Kendrick Bourne, Javon Baker, KJ Osborne, Tyquan Thornton. If I want to go to 7, they added Jalen Reagor. They still have Kayshon Boutte. This is a mess. This is a serious problem in redraft to try and pick and ponder who you want to draft. If you want to take a Patriots receiver, do it with your last pick. I still think that you'll find probably somewhere or someone, I should say, other than Demario Douglas at his ADP that will excite you a little bit more. Maybe with a quarterback that has a little bit more upside or an offense that has a little bit more upside. Don't get me wrong. I'm sprinkling in all these guys in best ball, but that's much different than redraft. I can put them as my 8th receiver and they just get plugged into the lineup whenever, however, that's it. So if I want to get creative and take a Drake May and a Demario Douglas stack, cool. I don't recommend it for redraft. It's going to be a super volatile offense. No one's going to know what to expect. If you can nail it, if you can nail your guy, you might be able to leverage, that ADP late round, but who it's going to be, I couldn't tell you. Demario Douglas is a good pick. I mean, his nickname is Pop for a reason.
Right.
Got a lot of speed, got a lot of jump,
pop.
Put out some good tape last year, but it's so crowded.
It is so crowded. I have in my my projections, I have Kendrick Bourne at 11%, Douglas at 12, Polk at 12, KJ Osborne at 10, Smith Schuster at 7. So I mean, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're not going to give somebody 20% in the offense. So
exactly.
Yeah. No. All right. I like it. All right. Now let's jump down and we're going to talk about tiers. So you're in a draft. You're coming up. You need a wide receiver. You get into these kind of tiers where you have wide receiver 2s on their team, right? Not the wide receiver 1s, and not necessarily poised to become one either on their team unless there's an injury. Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, even Devonta Smith, right? Those guys all, if there's an injury to the wide receiver 1, become a wide receiver 1 pretty much de facto. But out of these tiers, tier 1, I'm going to say 1 or 2 guys that you're targeting, and then maybe somebody you're fading at their ADP. So in tier 1, the I guess the highest ADP, right, is Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 17, Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 20, Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 22, and then my boy Devonta Smith, wide receiver 23. So out of that group, if you can get them, somebody you want and somebody who you're like, don't like that guy.
I'll take all of those guys except for Jalen Waddle at his ADP. He's actually a little bit discounted at your ranking of wide receiver 17. I'm typically facing him at wide receiver 15, and that's a bit of that's a debate. Like, I mean, that's moving him up, and in my opinion, he should be 6, 8, probably 8 picks after ADP. I think is a little bit more appropriate. Very good example of the team value and offensive value bringing up his ADP, and that's not what I want to buy. I also typically pass on Devon Achane at his ADP. I like other running backs there. I like other players there. And I mean, all those other guys that you had named after Jalen Waddle, they're all at his ADP and they're all more affordable. So it's more likely that I would actually take, who was it? You had said Devonta Smith, Diggs, and Kupp, right? Yeah. I have a lot more of those guys than I do Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is more of like a 2% player for me. Got to get my exposure, got to get my little bits. Same thing with Achane, but it's very minimal because, again, I think they're just overvalued at that ADP overall. Kupp, very good situation. Who's in that offense? It's just not as deep as the Dolphins. Diggs, he's in a deeper offense for sure. They already had Collins. They already had Tank Dell. They're bringing him in. They bring in Joe Mixon. They extend Dalton Schultz. But at the end of the day, I still feel like Diggs is actually the most appropriately priced Houston Texan because you have Tank Dell that's way too high. Collins is way too high as well. And you kind of have Diggs just kind of sandwiched in there with other good players at that ADP that feel very comparable. And then who was the last one? Devonta Smith. I mean, you're just in the Eagles offense, that's just domino effect.
Yeah, you're in a target hog situation. Even though you're I don't know, 18% to 24% for AJ Brown, you're still getting 18%. 20% of the target. So I like it. All right. Tier 2, I kind of hinted at it earlier with a little Keenan Allen buzz. Keenan Allen, just before we get into the other people in this tier with him, which are Chris Godwin and DeAndre Hopkins, who we talked about a little bit earlier. How do you view Keenan Allen in this offense? Just kind of looking at and hearing some podcasts and doing some research, it appears that last year, the new OC for Chicago only ran 53% in 21 personnel. Is that what it is? Or is it in 12 personnel? I forget. Whichever one has the 3 wide receivers.
In 12 personnel.
In 12 personnel, right.
He was constantly just using Lockett and Metcalf, and he wasn't getting JSN his.
No. And so with everybody on the team, all the wide receivers on the team, that's not great news.
I mean, because he was counterbalancing it because all right, Lockett come off, JSN go on. Okay, Lockett, JSN, DK Metcalf, whatever they were trying to do. It was weird.
How's that going to impact Keenan Allen, do you think, this year?
I don't think that really is going to be a factor. I think that from the top down, we know that Keenan Allen is going to be an asset in this offense. I think that he and Adunze are going to be the clear, guys behind DJ Moore. DJ Moore just signed his extension today. They obviously invested a lot in acquiring him from Carolina. We knew that he was going to be a big part of the offense for the next handful of years. Now we actually have it pen to paper with an extension. However, I think that Adunze is probably the most likely loser of that Waldron, quote unquote, conundrum, perception, narrative, whatever you want to paint it or color it as. I think that he's the potential loser there because they're going to bring him along a little bit slower than people might think. You have Keenan Allen, who finished as wide receiver 11 last year, and DJ Moore, I believe, at 6 in half-point PPR. It's going to be a potent offense. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to use Keenan Allen a ton. It's about if he stays healthy. And that's really what you're getting baked into his value here. Will he last the whole season, and will he be a priority in the offense? I know he's going to be a priority in the offense. This is why the team went out and spent all the money that they have, and also obviously staying with the number 1 pick, moving on from Fields, etc. Like, they've been very purposeful this offseason. I don't believe they've done all of that just to be like, we're going to give Keenan Allen 5 targets a game. I don't think so. And he's also very integral to the run game. That keeps him on the field a lot as well.
He's on a 1-year deal too. So this is not he's not trying to maybe cement his legacy here in Chicago, right? So he's trying to just ball out, maybe get another contract as well. I think he probably not going to retire next year. It wasn't the plan for Keenan Allen. Him and Travis Kelce riding off into the sunset together. I think that's Taylor Swift. But I like that too. And I could even see a situation where Keenan Allen starts the year, doesn't even get banged up, but just over time, they know they're not, he's not going to stick around. They just give Adunze more opportunity. They have Keenan Allen there to help him, teach him all the things he needs to know. In the role, he's got somebody right there. So even if he's spelling and he's coming off now and again, by the end of the season, I think there is a role for Adunze. So maybe if you are going to draft him, just expect him not to produce right away and just stash and dash. Just keep him there for a while on your bench. And then if Keenan Allen does go down, you've got somebody who's got, wide receiver 2 potential on a weekly basis. Yeah. So, all right. I like that. Chris Godwin, what do you think about him? Last year he was the wide receiver 1 being drafted. Evans was they've done this game. Actually, Chris Godwin was one of the reasons why I invented wide receiver 2 theory, because long ago he was drafted solo as wide receiver 2 in Tampa Bay before Tom Brady. It was Jameis Winston, I think. And it inspired me to write this because I asked my guy, JJ Zachariason, is there a study that's been done on the value gap and how we perceive these wide receiver 1s and hold them up on a pedestal? Is there something I can do? Is there a study I can participate in, sir? He said, no. I did my own homework. And but now Chris Godwin, wide receiver 36. I think there is potential there. How are you seeing him this year in his role? Hopefully more healthy than he's been the last couple of years. What's your breakdown of him?
No, I absolutely love Chris Godwin. 19% Chris Godwin so far.
Ooh.
So, absolutely love Chris Godwin. It's a great situation. I'm not scared of Jalen McMillan or Bucky Irving taking some type of bulk amount of the offense away from him or Evans. I think that Otten, if anything, maybe takes a little bit more of a step forward here. But the role is clear. He's going to be their lower ADOT guy, slot target, something that should be leaned on by Baker with a healthier Godwin. And I think that, again, this is year 13 for Mike Evans. I do believe he gets over the century mark again. He gets over 1,000 receiving yards, but you got to just imagine there's going to be some games where he has to, check out, right? There's always those games where he plays Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
He has 2 targets. It's there's Mike Evans and Lattimore just hating each other. 2 targets.
Fight a bro today.
Yeah, exactly. But then he gets 1 touchdown on that game. It's ridiculous.
I mean, their target shares between them are 47% last year, just the 2 of them. And so, 24 for Evans, 23 for Godwin. You're getting 23% in an offense, even if you're a little older and you're, 29, 30, whatever for Godwin. That's still a good deal there. You're wide receiver 36 right now. I mean, that sounds like a discount.
They also
to
just
me.
Don't have a running back that can really bury the ball, that can really tote, high volume carries. Rashad White's more of a PPR running back, really. He catches a lot of passes. That's his floor, his base value. So you have an offense that's also just going to throw the ball a lot. If they get into really good game script through a handful of matchups, Godwin and Evans, they're going to be gold at their ADP.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like both of them still a lot, and I don't think this is a situation where you have to be like Chris Godwin has to outproduce Mike Evans for me to
No.
meet
It's just
value or anything like that.
fall. You just take the fall. I mean, Evans doesn't fall now. He's going in round
Right.
2, round 3. But regardless, you can still catch him in the wind, 4 or 5 picks after ADP.
Yeah. All right. Last tier, and then we're going to jump down to some team battles. There's not one versus one. It's like 3 or 4 guys, right? It's like JD Vance and couches. He's all over them. So, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We'll hold the political banter until then.
Awesome.
I know tier 3. A couple of guys that definitely are on the rise or have kind of been outperforming their ADP previously. And then there's Brandon Cooks, who just does the same thing every year and hit his ADP last year and just was, just exactly where you drafted him. He finished. But Jacoby Myers, he outperformed his ADP last year. So did Rashid Shaheed, who now stands to benefit a lot with Michael Thomas gone, hopefully. Who are you targeting in that group? If they're wide receiver 54, 56, 58, when you're kind of in that range and you're looking for that flex option, that bye week special to kind of give you 20, 25 points to put you on the board, who are you going for?
It's these guys.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, he averages 10 half-point PPR fantasy points a game through the last 10 seasons. Didn't know that. I thought that was kind of a crazy stat.
Without touchdowns, the first 6 of them. So
exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying though. Like he's got a great baseline, just like a guy that's going in that range, a very easy click for me. Rashid Shaheed, like you said, advanced role with Michael Thomas gone. You also have Juwan Johnson banged up to start the season, so there'll be a little bit extra value for him to go around. Derek Carr led the league in 300 plus passing yard games last year, oddly enough. So the yardage is there, the opportunities are there for him. I saw someone take Rashid Shaheed in the 5th round of my Scott Fishbowl live draft.
Holy shit.
That was a bit bonkers, but it just goes to show you the atonement from the market. Like people are really high on him. So yeah, I'm easy click for me for Shaheed as well. And Brandon Cooks, my most exposed player so far this best ball summer, 25% right now. Or no, I'm sorry, he's number 2. He's right behind Eckler. Eckler's 27, but my most exposed receiver, I should say. So absolutely.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you pick up on value when you're in your drafts.
Oh yeah,
too.
You mentioned, like their ADP wide receiver 54, 56, 58. They're gonna clear those rankings by 20, 30 spots.
Yeah.
They're just an easy click.
And I wonder too, particularly even in home leagues, because this is what people in the industry are doing. This is data that's gathered from online drafts and from not saying that those aren't important, but home leagues too are also a little weird. These guys, Rashid Shaheed might not be on people's radar in your home league as much. You know what I mean? Like Jacoby.
Brandon Cooks is old.
Brandon Cooks, he only gets 1,000 yards every season. Oh, I hate that. So I think all these guys are guys in that later round. My podcast partner, Mike Cash Collins, Michael, he's won the most out of anybody. He used to say after 7-8 rounds, it's over, baby. Who cares? Well, I do. I care. These guys, these guys are around. So I think they're all values too. All right. Now, last kind of thing before we get into, personal favorites that don't have to be wide receiver 2 theory based. We've got some teams here that have not 1, not 2, but 3 or 4 kind of stags that are fighting off for the number 1 deer in the herd mentality here. So we got 3 offenses. We'll start in Green Bay, where they have 4 wide receivers that kind of outperformed, 1 who underperformed last year in Christian Watson, and then a bunch of 3 other wide receivers, Wicks, Dobbs, and Reed, who all outperformed their ADP, crushed it, blew it out the water. So you have 4 of them, and right now you can get all 4 of them. And they're all different prices. So you've got like 7th round, 6th round, 8th round, 11th round. Christian Watson right now is being drafted as the wide receiver 2. What do you make of the Green Bay Packers offensive weapons this year? And how's this going to break out, do you think?
I've mostly sprinkled my shares of those players with the least amount in Christian Watson. He's the guy that I have the least amount of faith in, whether it's staying on the field. I guess really that's what it's all about. I mean, he just never stays on the field. I was about to say consistency, but realistically, that's the consistency that we're going to need out of him. It drives me crazy. It banes my inner thoughts and souls and all parts of me that he was on the winning roster for Best Ball Mania 4, that someone won $3 million drafting a Jordan Love and Christian Watson stack. Like just crushes me on the inside. It just breaks parts of me. Shattered. So that's troubling. I lose sleep over that. Don't draft a ton of Christian Watson because of it mostly. Jaden Reed, sprinkle him in. Romeo Dube, same thing. The pick here for me is Dontavian Wicks. I have about 15% of him. Ooh. And it's mostly because of the ADP. You're getting him at the cheapest cost. Yes. Down the stretch of last season, he was very good. He scored 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games he played in. He was earning and carving out a much more significant role. The problem with the offense is LaFleur doesn't want any one guy to be the guy. They want to spread it out. They also want to run the ball a lot. I think, what was it? Reed and Dubes both finished with about 99 targets, or right around 100 targets.
Yeah.
I don't know if any one of these guys gets over 125 targets this year. Wicks feels like he could be the one, although he does have a lot of market hype, and I feel like a lot of the shift and a lot of the public conversation has moved him up the boards and made him a more popular click. You may see somebody take him ahead of ADP just because he's getting so much hype. But if he's just falling appropriately at his cost, I will take Wicks above the rest.
Yeah, and Wicks is wide receiver 60 right now in the end of the 12th round, beginning of the 13th round. So he is a free square. And this thing, he doesn't need to be wide receiver 1 on the team to get value back. He can be wide receiver 3. You draft him a wide receiver 4. He can be wide receiver 2. You draft him wide receiver 4. It's those incremental little gains in wide receiver 2 theory that kind of does help you put the pieces together to gain those little points you need. I mean, when you're micro chasing, is what you're doing every Sunday, right? So, all right, no, I like that. All right, next team, no one's ever heard of them. They're a little team out of a place called Kansas City. I don't think they've ever won anything. I think they never will. That's kind of what my cut of the jib they put out. But they've got a bunch of wide receivers that they've kind of all been drafted in the same kind of vicinity. So wide receiver 36 is Hollywood Brown. Wide receiver 37 is Rashee Rice, the speedster. And then the real speedster, Xavier Worthy, wide receiver 44. So how are you assessing the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room? And don't forget trick plays that Kadarius Toney throws behind the line of scrimmage too.
Stop. Not drafting Kadarius Toney.
No, I'm just
I'm mostly just taking Hollywood Brown here. I mean, if I'm looking at the majority of my shares and my approach, he's someone that has fallen in previous months. He's fallen down the board despite being on the Chiefs roster. People are super volatile with Rashee Rice ADP, whether they take him right at ADP, they take him 10, 11 spots after ADP. It can go any sort of way. Xavier Worthy is the guy that I typically see falling last. So I would say that he's a good grab there.
Yeah.
Any of these guys are tied to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's a good situation regardless. Worthy, they're going to use. He's a speedster. They've been looking for that, someone that's a little bit more reliable with their hands downfield than MVS or Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore. Yeah, they got some speed, but are they reliable? Are they consistent? Do they have hands? No, they don't. Hopefully Xavier Worthy can help with that. Same with Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice dealing with the legal battles. It sounds like at this point, probably going to get pushed any missing time to next season. So he's going to be a climber. Get him at value while you can.
Yeah. And it wouldn't hurt if you created a fake PDF and sent it to all your friends before the draft, like Rashee Rice back in the legal draft. Just another story. Yep. You can plant the story yourself. You can write it in the Hollywood Examiner or whatever.
And just drop it in your league message board.
Just drop it. Just leave.
Did you guys see this?
Holy shit. Rashee Rice threw a baby into an incinerator.
Especially if you're playing with a lot of boomers that aren't on Twitter, that's going to be the easiest play ever.
Mm-hmm. No,
you're able to plant fake news in your fantasy league and have it work. That would be legendary. Legendary.
I'll tell you this one. I planted a fake lotto ticket into my league one time. I'll tell that story. I'm
gonna plant LSD in the pudding at the crab cake draft, so you can't win this year.
Oh my gosh! You wait until you guys see what I have for you. I use my winnings. I
used my winnings. You gonna taunt us with it? Would you get a sign or did you make t-shirts for us?
Oh no, it's even better than that. I can't wait.
You guys can come here, eat my food, draft with me, but you're wearing these t-shirts that say that you're a bitch. And
No, I wouldn't. I don't even let. It's not even me. I'm just gonna let the ether. I'll let the whole. You'll see. Anyway,
ether. Okay.
Yeah, the ether is gonna come get
I'm
you
so
guys.
excited.
Yeah, it's. I told Bo about it because I want Bo to know about it, and he said it's just diabolical, and I said I'm very excited about it myself. So, but that's just called a tease, kids. If you're in the crab cake, you know. And by the way, shout out to Joban. He's staying in the crab cake. He didn't know that Camden Yards at Oriole Park had Wi-Fi, and they do. So he tried to tell me he couldn't draft because he couldn't get a signal at Camden Yards. And I said, let me just check and see. I said, yeah, I looked up online. They have Wi-Fi, Joe. You can plug into the network, buddy. It's not 1999, you know? So Joe's going to be there still. God bless him. Love that guy.
That's
all
awesome. Right. Fantastic. I was scared we were losing too many.
Well, you know what? If Joe does leave, I've got other guys already lined up who want to be.
Whoa.
In, so yeah,
whoa.
I know.
Wait,
I know.
Whoa.
There's a wait list. There is. I'm
everyone
glad you're
calm down. Just everyone calm down. Gotta beat Scott.
We're going national after well, never mind. I'll just be quiet. All right. But last team here that has just a glut of wide receivers that no one knows what to do with. There's Shakir truthers, there's Coleman truthers, there's Curtis Samuel truthers, there's all these people. Buffalo Bills wide receivers. Also, there's Dalton Kincaid, who's a tight end technically, but he's going to run out of the slot and be a wide receiver. So in this Buffalo Bills wide receiver room, Kincaid is being drafted as the first target of Josh Allen. After that, it's Curtis Samuel, and then I'm saying his name wrong. Khalil Shakir. Yes, I'm getting the Shakir and the Khalil mixed up. Khalil Shakir, and then Keon Coleman are right there next to each other. So it's just like it's a glut.
They should not be. I mean, so when I've been drafting in best ball, Shakir and Samuel are much farther behind Coleman. Maybe I can pull it up here. But yeah, they're a much better value. So if you have to take them right next to each other, that makes things very difficult. Let me see.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the ADP on 444. Coleman, his aggregate is wide receiver 46. Samuels is 51. Shakir is 54. So you have rounds in between,
So I have Coleman at ADP 77, Samuel 88. So that's 11 picks, a full round, and then Shakir 110. So Shakir's he's parked back there, and that makes him a better value.
Oh yeah, it's underdog.
Yeah. So if you have to take them at the same ADP, I'm probably taking the faller of either Coleman or Samuel. I think that at that point, it just makes Shakir too expensive. If you get Shakir 10 picks after that, 15 picks after that, I think that's a better value. But you kind of nailed it on the head, unfortunately. This is probably Dalton Kincaid's group. He's being priced appropriately for a reason. At least on underdog, I'm getting like Josh Allen and Kincaid stacks in round 4, round 5. That feels really good. Loading that up with like 3 really good receivers before those 2 picks. Or whatever, you want to mix and match 2 really good receivers, running back, whatever. Have your fancy, have your daiquiri.
Do you?
Yeah, exactly. Be yourself. Yeah. Be yourself. Shout out Just Friends. But of this group, I like Kincaid a lot. I've drafted a lot of Coleman. I think Coleman is going to be a very good prospect. There's a reason why they spent the capital on him that early. They're thriving for somebody to come in and fill that Stephon Diggs hole. It's a big one. But Curtis Samuel's a weapon, man. Like, he's always been good. He's a guy that can be shifty at the second level, very good route runner, can play the slot, can play the outside. So I think he's going to be the guy that probably scores the most fantasy points. But in reality, you're going to have a very good mix of, production week to week. I mean, this offense is going to look to highlight Josh Allen. And I think it might be similar to like what we were discussing out of the Packers, where you have, these guys after Kincaid just kind of, very similar target share, very similar reception totals, but, pretty good baseline production.
It's interesting looking at the ADP across different drafting platforms, and Curtis Samuel 89 in underdog, Keon Coleman 78, which is you're buying up. It's underdog. You're trying to max out and get those guys, and in redraft it's the opposite. The insecurity, the unsurety. You go, I don't want either one of them at price
because you don't know who you're going to start,
right? Because your team. You're just saying you're being cautious in redraft. I don't know. And so because of that, Curtis Samuel 144th, right? So you have 149th or 144th. Yahoo 115. So anywhere from 115
Sign me up, Bobby.
144. So home leagues, watch out for falling any of them. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, any of those three guys that just start to nosedive down in your home leagues. Grab them up. I think they all will have a value in the league. So
give me two. Yeah. I mean, if they're both back there, I mean, just take him and Shakir if they're both at that ADP.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
Those are your later, round 11, round 12, round 13 wide receivers. Yeah. Those are guys you might cut, and you're not going to cut those guys.
No, you're not going to
Shakir. No, exactly.
Those guys would be great stashes until an injury, or I don't think we're going to have a trade or a cut.
But you just never know. It's the NFL,
I don't think so.
Yeah, who knows? All right. So we talked a lot about wide receiver twos and things that I like. I want to know who's your favorite wide receiver one, right? Who's the guy that you're drafting this year when you're in your best ball, and not the special guys like the cooks that you find at discount, but the guy you're going, this is my wide receiver one. I'm staking my claim. For me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's a top wide receiver. I think he's like wide receiver 3 this year. How about yourself? Who
so Amon-Ra St. Brown is my most exposed player in round 1. Oh. So if I'm going to round 1, he is my most exposed player. Last year, round 1, my most exposed player, oddly enough, was Justin Jefferson, because I just kept getting the 101. And of course, it wasn't the year to take him at 101, unfortunately. So I'm hoping I don't have similar round 1 woes with my most exposed, player in that territory. But I think at that value, it's worth noting that in round 2, I am constantly clicking Davante Adams. Yeah. He was a round 1 pick last year. Why he's going behind Puka Nacua, still concerning. Marvin Harrison Jr., still concerning. This is a guy that could, he should not be going behind Chris Olave or even Debo or Ayuk. He's going to get 150 targets.
Yeah.
If you watch, again, kind of referencing receiver, he plays hurt. He wants the ball. He's a team leader. He loves the Raiders, right? Like it's his team. It's his childhood team. Like he's a part of the leadership group. Like you want every bit of him, in my opinion. I have 23%. So very, very bullish in round 2. He is a reason why I am lower on Jalen Waddle, why I am lower on a Devon Achane or other players in that range. It's because of Davante Adams. Full send on him. And then just a bonus, of course, Deontay Johnson, just an absolute smash. They're going to feature him. Everybody last year wrote off Mike Evans. You referenced it earlier. Everyone was drafting Godwin over him, right? Look at what Canales did for the number 1 receiver in Tampa Bay and Mike Evans. Look at that revival that he had. They're not similar players, Evans and Deontay, right? But I am betting that Canales is going to have the same immense positive effect on Deontay Johnson this season. And we're going to see a huge turnaround from what we're used to seeing. And he's an easy round 7 pick, just like all day. Give me 2. Yeah. I'll take 2.
End of the 7th round. It is remarkable.
I've been saying he'll be more expensive. It's not happening.
Let people wallow in their stupidity. So, I love it. Those are all great takes from Best Ball Bruni himself, Justin Bruni, local Maryland Crab Cake League participant as well. Tell people where they can find you, what you're working on this year, what you got going on this fantasy football season.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. You can find me on the Twitter machine, on the X at Best Ball Bruni. On Thursday nights, I do live shows and drafts for the Fanspeak Network. Me and my co-host Andrew, we typically talk, a little recent news, little best ball strategy session, then dive into a live draft. We also have other strat shows that we'll draft on, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, etc. That's me. That's you. That's my spot. That's my cool Deontay Johnson video. Go check it out. Go like it. Go share it. And then, I also work with the Fantasy Six Pack Network. I'm dropping articles with them, best ball values at each position, ADP, rise and falls, all that good stuff. And then I do have a show. I've been doing the mornings with them, like an early, best ball breakfast show. You guys aren't waking up, like the degenerates aren't getting out for it. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch to a late night episode. So I'm going to go after hours. Taking this week off, but I'll be back next week. That'll be on Tuesday nights on their YouTube channel, the Fantasy Six Pack Network. So here for you all best ball summer. Best ball applies to a lot of redraft concepts and just their overall ADP. Come stop by, check in the chat. I'll give you some ADP movement on any players that you're looking at, who's been up, who's been down. can definitely help you out.
I love it. This is one of the most knowledgeable wide receiver on the boots on the ground in the industry. I appreciate you, Justin, so much. Thank you so much. Go follow him. Follow me, Nimble W Numbers. I just found out because I'm not a Premium X subscriber anymore, I can't live stream my feed anymore onto Twitter. It's so sad. I'm not going to give Elon Musk and my data to an Israeli paramilitary company. I'm sorry. I can't.
Dang, drop it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry. I want to keep
close.
my eyes and my ID to my doctor only. So sorry, Elon.
You would be making so much on the monetary side, though.
I was making $40-50 a month, $70 a month.
I mean, whatever. So
well,
I mean, just you being you. Someone's paying you to just continue being you.
But they have my
taking walks with Winter, hoop shots.
Hey, if you didn't see, by the way, go check out my video for the Fantasy Football Expo. I put one together today to the old Kenny Loggins of Highway to the Danger Zone. And I was hitting my poop shots, but they weren't poop shots. They were actually real sack toss shots.
Did you tell people to bring cases of water and cough drops?
No, I didn't let them find out. No,
the Canton group chat was getting a little bit heated. So we were talking a little Devon Achan, and I was like, hey, not so fast. Some people were not happy about that. Got a little out of control for a second. I was like, hey guys, let's bring it back to earth here. Let's not forget our water and cough drops. You're going to lose your voice after Friday. And, water's going to feel really good the rest of the weekend after Friday as well.
Because I'm, so sexy now, I'm losing so much weight. I'm not even going to be drinking. So I'm just going to be drinking the water anyway, so Are
you just going to walk around with like your shirt off at this whole thing? Just go like Bert Kreischer?
I might, because I've actually got, like, you can see I got the guns now. I've had them, but now you can see them. So
keeping them in the safe.
Yeah, they're a little hairy though. I'm not gonna lie, pasty and hairy. The guns they need maybe next summer.
It's all right. Everyone's talking about what they're gonna wear. Everybody's talking about fashion. Scott's not wearing shit.
I'm naked. So with that, we'll see you guys next time for Wide Receiver 2 Theory. See ya.